So in case you're wondering what this is, it's not an S, it's a big number 2. And the reason I have a big number 2 is because I am celebrating this month of not actively cancering. Now, a lot of people have that question, what does actively cancering mean? And I'm going to answer that in just a few minutes. But first of all, thank you so much for joining me and being here to be able to understand what it takes to create vibrant health. Now, most of you probably know that I had an initial healing journey from 2004 through 2006. That's what kind of put me on the cancer map with TTAC, The Truth About Cancer, and I started sharing my healing journey in about 2012. That's when I created Breast Cancer Conqueror. So fast forward about 3 years, in 2015, I was working like a mad woman. I was a woman on a mission, and I wanted to help as many women as possible to be able to reverse breast cancer. Well, I neglected myself, and I forgot a lot of the things that I was teaching. I didn't apply them to myself. So I created the perfect storm for breast cancer to show up again. And I knew in my gut that I wasn't well, but I kept pushing. And then finally I just, went to the doctor, did the blood work, did the scans, and yes, it definitely showed up that breast cancer was there, and I felt a lump again in my left breast. So why did that happen? Well, I'm going to go through each of the 7 essentials and show you where there was some weaknesses in my protocol, in my lifestyle. There was still a lot of work that I needed to get done, and at the end of that 7 essentials, and at the end of those 3 years that I worked very hard, just like most of you that are listening, there was the realization that all these things that I've been teaching, I need to, or I choose to, apply them to myself on a daily basis, and that's what it takes, really. So I'm celebrating, it was August of 2018, where everything was clear, blood work was good, ultrasounds were clear, I felt great, and the following month I came out of the closet. Basically, I shared my second healing journey at a Healing Diva retreat live in Atlanta with about 100 women there in the audience, and it was very freeing. And I will tell you, when you're on your healing journey, something that is so important is for you to have a vision to pull yourself forward. And my vision was that I would be standing on the stage and I would be sharing my story, and that healing journey would be behind me. So I invite you to look at a vision and think about a vision that pulls you forward, because pain can be a motivator, right? Fear can be a motivator, but what you really want to look at is, what can I do, what can I think about that's really going to motivate me and pull me forward? Maybe it's traveling with your spouse, maybe it's spending more time with your grandkids, maybe it's a project or something you want to create. Whatever that is, keep that vision in 3D Technicolor in your mind and in your heart. Meditate on it, pray about it, see it, feel it, and see it in your mind's eye like it's actually happening. And we know that your thoughts can create amazing changes in your physical body. So let's go through and tell you about each of the 7 essentials and why it's so critical. So I'm going to use some cheat notes here. So essential number 1 is let food be your medicine. Now for me, I've been eating clean since I was 16 years old. That's when I really started understanding wellness, and that was my passion, to bring wellness to the world. But what I realized during my second healing journey, that all the juicing that I'd done for 3.5 decades had served me in the right way at the time, but now it was really affecting my blood sugar. I had become insulin resistant. My blood sugar seemed to be a little bit high, so I really had to do a metabolic reset. So I did a lot of fasting. I started introducing intermittent fasting. I did the fasting mimicking diet. I did a ketogenic diet, hardcore for 6 months to really give me that metabolic reset. I looked at different food sensitivities. So I really had to examine my eating habits and basically start over from square one, because what had worked for me for 30, 40 years wasn't working so much anymore. So that was essential number one. So I encourage you to really look at your blood sugar, because blood sugar could be key in letting you know if you still have that insulin resistance. And if you do, you're setting yourself up for inflammation and for cancer pathways to show up again. Now, essential number two is to reduce your toxic exposure. Now, we live in a toxic world. We can't live in a bubble, but there's so many things that you can do to reduce your exposure. So I took a deep dive into essential number two. I started doing coffee enemas every day. I started using rectal and vaginal ozone. Purchased a sauna and was doing hyperthermia 4 or 5 times a week. I used my biomat more regularly. I did some lymphatic drainage, which was very, very helpful to really drain that lymph that was congested in that left side. Essential number three is to balance your energy. Now, we are 1 billionth physical matter. The rest is all energy. So how do we keep that energy balanced? Chiropractic care, making sure you get grounded every day, get outside, go barefoot, lay on the ground. If you can't do that in the wintertime, then see if you have access to a PEMF mat or a grounding mat to see if you can really get connected to the earth. Another key for essential number three in balancing your energy is sleep. Now, I was having problems sleeping. So I did some neurotransmitter profiles to look at the chemistry in my brain to be able to balance those better. I did lots of support for my methylation pathways. I have genetic weaknesses where I don't methylate and I don't detox properly. So I really had to dive in and look at that more closely. And lastly, I had to learn to balance my hormones more effectively. Now, that's really key for essential number three in balancing your hormones, because conventional medicine will tell you that your hormones may be driving the cancer. For the most part, your hormones are beneficial. You need to have balanced hormones. Now, if you're exposing yourself to too many chemical estrogens, or you're not breaking down your estrogens properly, yes, estrogens could be a problem. But your own estrogen production, your own hormones are supportive. You need them for your brain health, for your heart health, for your bone health, for your immune health. All those things are critical. So number three is to balance your hormones. Number four is to heal the emotional wounds. Now, I thought that I had taken care of everything, right? I had done a lot of emotional work. But obviously, cancer was telling me that there was some issues that I needed to look at. So I did a lot of journaling, a lot of meditation. I hired 2 EFT coaches to help me to really get deep into the core of what was allowing this cancer to show up again. I used a technology called EVOX, E-V-O-X, which basically reads the frequencies and the stress in your voice and helps to balance that out. So there was a lot of work on essential number four, and I also used this little tool called HeartMath. It's a little clip on your ear, and it's an app that you get on your phone, and it monitors your heart rate variability. It shows you if you're in the sympathetic mode, in the fight or flight mode, or if you're in the calm mode. And it teaches you to train your body to calm down, because most of us are like this all day long, right? We are, we get out of bed and we've got things to do. We've got a checklist. We've got this and that and our protocol and taking care of our families and making sure we get our exercise in. So it's important to really calm down that nerve system every single day, because your body cannot heal if it feels like it's being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. So remember to really calm down that nerve system every day. Then essential number 5 is the dental issue. Now, I took very good care of my mouth, but there was something very interesting that showed up on tooth number 14, which sits on the left breast meridian. My biological dentist thought there was a little cavity at the base of the gum, so she was going to drill it. And when she drilled, she discovered that the tooth was hollow. So I had something called root resorption. It was basically an autoimmune issue. My immune system attacked that tooth on number 14 on that left breast meridian. So interesting, isn't it? So I had the tooth extracted, I had ozone injections, and I also did a 3D bone scan, beam bone scan, to see if there were any cavitations. Now, cavitations are infections in the bone where there's been extractions and it hasn't healed properly. Well, lo and behold, I had 4 cavitations that had never been addressed properly. So I went to see Dr. Nunnally, Stuart Nunnally in Maple Falls, Texas, and did an excellent job. Highly recommend him. And so that took care of the dental issue. Number 6, excuse me, is repairing your body with therapeutic plants and herbs. So the difference between my first healing journey and the second healing journey is that I had access to newer technology and newer tests, right? A lot of things changed in 9 years from 2006 to 2015. So I had access to the RGCC test, the grease test, where I monitored my circulating tumor cells and breast cancer stem cells. I monitored the natural extracts, as well as I looked at chemotherapy agents. Although I didn't do chemo, there was a lot of genetic information that I received from that test. And I followed the protocol based on the RGCC testing. And it wasn't a straight shot. It didn't go down like this. Sometimes there were bleeps that went up, and that's what a healing journey is like. It's not a straight shot. You're going to have detours. You're going to have highs. You're going to have lows. That's part of life. The key is to keep with your eyes on the prize, basically. Keep that vision of where you want to be in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. So I did things like high-dose vitamin C IVs, lots of infusions, poly-MVA IVs. I did high-dose proteolytic enzymes, all kinds of supplements and nutrients based on the RGCC. And then lastly, essential number 7 is to adopt very early detection and to monitor your journey. The key is to test. Never guess when it comes to your health. And the sad part of it is that so many women do guess when it comes to their health. They think that just juicing and taking a few supplements is going to get them well. It takes more than that. It takes all of the essentials, each and every one of them, and it takes serious commitment in doing the 7 essentials. Each one of them can get you one step closer. It's like pieces of the puzzle that come together. I've seen over and over in the last 8 years that we've been coaching women in 56 countries. If you decide that you don't want to address the dental, or you don't want to address the emotional, or whatever it is that you don't want to address, it's going to be a wobbly journey. You have to address all of them. You're not just a physical body. You have to address the emotional body, the internal conflicts, the cancer, the emotional cancers, as I call them. So there's a lot to look at. But the good news is, with this system, it's a step-by-step guide, and it makes it easy for you. So if you haven't read this book yet, Heal Breast Cancer Naturally, everything is outlined in there. Many, many women have commented that it's kind of their Bible for their healing journey. And, it's basically what I've learned in the last 40 years of being in the wellness industry. So I'm celebrating 2 years of not actively cancering. And what does that mean? Conventional medicine will tell you that you may be cancer free. Your blood work looks good, your scans look clear, they don't see anything, the tumor is gone perhaps, and they tell you that you're cancer free. So you go on and live your life and you don't think about cancer anymore because you think you're cancer free. That is such a disservice that they're telling you, because in reality you have to address circulating tumor cells and breast cancer stem cells, the root cause of recurrence. Now, how do you do that? Well, a good way to do that is through the liquid biopsies, such as the IVgene test, to see where you are. Is there a lot of cancer, free-floating cancer DNA methylation going on in your blood? It'll show you if you're in the green zone or the red zone. Another way to monitor that is with the RGCC test or the GREASE test, which will look at circulating tumor cells and breast cancer stem cells. You want your numbers to be way below 5. 5 and above means you're actively cancering. 5 and below means that you're progressing well, and things are working for you. So my goal is to stay always around 2. Because that's just a good number, or below, but always staying on top. Now, the biggest thing that I've learned in my second healing journey, well, there were many, but I think that the biggest one was to remember that I'm human and that it's okay for me to take time to nurture myself and to learn to calm the stress down. My whole life, like so many of you who have cancer, if you fall into that cancer personality, you're always wanting to please other people. You're a go-giver, a go-getter. You put others first before you put yourself first. Perhaps you have a hard time managing your stress. These are all part of the cancer personality. So what I learned is to really address those and to tell myself, and to do lots of tapping about it, that it's okay for me to take a day off, that it's okay for me to take a week off if I feel I have the need. It's okay for me to take a nap in the afternoon. It's okay for me to sit down and read a good book. That self-nurturing, taking time for myself, going for a massage, taking time for my coffee enemas, which I did this morning, going for my chiropractic adjustments, all the things that I know that are going to support my health. And so it's really, really important, and it comes down to that. Know that you're worth it, that you are deserving, and that a healing journey is like a full-time job. I know. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and it's something you have to pace yourself with. And remember that it's about change, right? It's not just getting rid of that lump, but it's about a transformation of your life, because what brought you to this point of having cancer has created the cancer in your life. So everything to that point needs to change in all aspects. And that's where the 7 Essentials comes in. That's where it's so important, because it gives you that guide. It shows you need to change your eating habits, your toxicity exposure. You have to balance your energy and your hormones, improve your sleep. Number 4, you have to deal with the emotions. Number 5, work with a biological dentist to really look deeply into your microbiome in your mouth and into your teeth. Number 6, make sure you work with one of our coaches, or an integrative doctor, or a cancer coach, so they can guide you on your journey. And lastly, test, and never guess when it comes to your health. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for listening to my message of hope, and share it with other women, because your sharing can literally save a life. So this is Dr. V sending you a big healing heart hug. Bye for now.